Okay, so this is a video where I'm going to tell you or show you the line of handheld consoles put out by Nintendo all the way up to the 6th generation console. The first was put out in 1989. This is the original Game Boy. It originally sold in the US for $89. And it was a really cool release at the time. It is dot matrix. This is dot matrix with stereo sound on the top here, which is kind of neat little artifact. And you'll notice that the cartridges, all the Game Boy original cartridges are gray like this. So if you find a cartridge that's gray like this, it's a Game Boy original. Realize it's only going to play in black and white, which really means black and white and this odd little green color that the screen displays. And this console is pretty big and heavy, but I was surprised at how fun it was. Despite the fact that I have a lot newer consoles, this was actually pretty fun to get a hold of and play with. And the screen is not that bad to see. Surprisingly, there's actually a contrast, and that's what I'm pushing over here, where you can adjust it according to the lighting. And given that it's this black and white, it's actually not that bad to see. So that was the first original Game Boy. Next came the Game Boy Pocket. This is also in black and white and plays the original Game Boy games. It's lighter, and it has a bigger screen, which is kind of neat. It's also a neat little console to play with, even now. So that's a Game Boy Pocket. After that, an entirely new line of games was released, and that was the Game Boy Color games. And this is a Game Boy Color. The screen went back down to a smaller size screen. Game Boy Color games came with color around the outside like this, or they were clear like this. And I think I'm probably not the only one to say that the quality of the screen, the ability to be able to see the screen actually went down with the Game Boy Color, because you know, the pixels and everything that they're trying to do with just these batteries and that powering the whole unit, and the fact that it doesn't have a backlight is getting to the point where you just really can't see it very well. So that was a major complaint. Next came the Game Boy Advance. Again, a new line of games was released with the Game Boy Advance. Now you're getting to hundreds and hundreds of games, and these, and there's still a library of hundreds and hundreds of games that you can choose from between the Game Boy Original, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games that you can play. But the Game Boy Advance games are a little smaller. All of these models are backward compatible, so the Game Boy Advance can play the original Game Boy games, Game Boy Color can play the original Game Boy games. You can see it's starting to look more like what the DS is going to look like later on with these here. But again, the quality of lighting is a little bit better, but still you're having difficulty seeing the screen. And this is the last time you'll see batteries in here. Nintendo moves to the lithium-ion batteries, and the reason for that is so that they can provide the lighting to the console needed to actually see the screen. So after this was a lot of people purchased this. That's why it's a little cheaper on eBay, because shortly after the release of that, to address the issue of not being able to see the console very well, Nintendo released their Game Boy Advance SP model. So it plays the same games. It was not a new release of games, but it was a new console. And what it has is a front light. So you can see the front light a little bit better. It's a different design, and again, you're starting to look more like a DS. with the flip top, and you know, you've got the controllers back here, or you can use the controllers down here. And this model, important to note, is the ags-101, and it's the front light model. And like I said, these are SP, stands for special, which means that it was highly sought out when it was originally released. Most people had the other console. Now after this one, another SP was released, and not a whole lot of people know this, so I'm going to tell you a little trick about how you can find these on eBay, because to me this is the only console you really need. I play almost all my games on this console. This is also the Game Boy Advance SP, but the model number is ags-101. They released them in 2 colors, although I've seen them in more than 2 colors. I don't know if people are changing the console cases out or what, but the main 2 colors are this light blue and a light pink. And you'll see how great the screen looks, and that is because it has a backlight. It's really the best model, and I wouldn't even bother with the other model. And one of the things that you can do if you're looking for this model on eBay is you can actually type in Game Boy Advance ags-101, but if you actually want to get it for cheap, because the people who know what this model is are going to type that in and they're going to be bidding against you, if you want to get it for cheap, look for this color and look for the light pink color. It doesn't guarantee that it'll be this model, because the 001 model was also released in this light blue color, but you can email the seller and ask them what's the model number, and they email back, it's the 101. You'll know it's the one with the brighter screen. So that is the end of this video. These are the 6th generation models, the Game Boy Advance models. So hopefully you found this interesting.